Hi, this is Shannon Leaf with Lovely Leaf Applique. You can find us on Etsy at lovelyleafapplique.etsy.com. We have a number of in the hoop embroidery designs for all you machine embroidery people. Today we're going to be doing a video tutorial on how to make one of our in the hoop Tooth Fairy Pillows. These are sewn completely in your 5x7 embroidery hoop. Check us out on Etsy. We have several designs to choose from, so if this isn't your cup of tea, we have trains, we have superheroes, we have princesses, you name it. So surely there is a Tooth Fairy pillow for you. Alright, let's begin. We're going to run the first step, which is going to be the placement stitch for our pillow. Okay, we've got the placement stitch done. Next up, we're going to place the fabric we would like for the front of our pillow over the placement stitch. I use 505 spray to just hold my fabric in place. Keeps it from puckering and you know, causing little imperfections, and it doesn't gum up your needle. And we are going to now run step 2, which is going to be our placement stitch here. And then we are going to jump right into stitching down our appliques. So this is going to stitch the placement stitch for our first applique. Okay, we've got the placement stitch for our tooth, and all I'm going to do is lay my fabric, which in this case is going to be glitter canvas, over that, and we are going to tack it down. Okay, we've got our tooth tacked down. I went ahead and trimmed back the side of the tooth because sometimes the fabric can get in the way of the placement stitch for the pocket. Right now the machine is stitching the placement stitch for the pocket. Alright, we have tacked down our frame for our pocket, and we also went right into stitching the placement stitch for our pocket. Okay, I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer here to our pocket that has stitched. What you're going to do is you're going to take your fabric, you know, as the instructions call for. It's a long piece of fabric, and you fold it in half and press it and get a nice little fold. That is going to be the top of your pocket. And what you want to do is you want to take that fold and you want to line it up just underneath the end of those stitch lines. I like to do it so that I can see just a little bit. I don't know if you can see it in the video here, but I like to do it so you see just a little bit of the end of the stitch line there. Alright, and now we are going to tack that down. Okay, we've got all of our appliques trimmed back, and now we're just going to go ahead and start all of the satin stitching and detail stitching around our appliques. And this is the fun part. This is where you add character to your Tooth Fairy pillow. Now that all of our satin stitching and detail stitching is done, we're going to go ahead and add some personalization. For this one I'm putting a name, but we also have a generic My Tooth embroidery design that you can also find in our shop at lovelyleafapplique.etsy.com. When you're merging this into your software, this would be the step right after your pocket satin stitch. Okay, our name is finishing up, and it's going to jump right into the placement stitch for our ribbon. And you can really skip this step, but I like to put it there, A, for those of us that like placement stitches, and B, I like to do it in a different color as well, just in case I have the white showing through. Alright, let's zoom in here a minute. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my ribbon on here, and I'm going to very carefully hold it. Keep my fingers down here. We do not want to needle through our hand, so please be very careful. I like to leave about 1/4 of an inch from the corner, and then we just run the tack down stitch here. Okay, before we run the last step, there's a couple things we need to do. First, we are going to fold up the ribbon so that it is clear from the edges. We're going to keep this as perpendicular as possible to the stitch line. And then I like to use these little binder clips to hold my ribbon flat. But you use whatever you have in hand. It could be tape, it could be just a sewing pin, it could be paper clip, whatever you have. I just find those pretty handy. Alright, and then we're going to take our fabric that we'd like to use for our backside. If you have a printed fabric like I do here, you want to make sure you have it oriented the right way. So this is the top of our pillow, so I want these facing properly. We lay that down, and then we're going to run our final stitch. I do like to hold my fabric down with a pair of scissors, keeping my fingers out of the way. That also helps the fabric to keep from shifting. And this is going to go around a couple of times just to get you a nice secure stitch. Okay, I've got my project removed from the hoop, And all I'm going to do now is remove as much of the Tearaway stabilizer as I possibly can. If you can't get it all, you know, don't worry about it. Just do your best. And then, once you're done removing all the Tearaway, including this here on the inside, you're going to take a pair of pinking scissors and trim around the opening of your Tooth Fairy pillow. And I like to start right around the opening. I do leave about a 1/2 inch around that opening for a little bit of a seam allowance, because we're going to need to close that, and you want a little extra fabric there. And this is what you should end up with. All the Tearaway stabilizer, oops, missed some, has been removed. I've got the pinking shears around with a little bit of extra fabric around the opening. Alright, we just got done finished turning this right side out. Isn't she cute? I like to flip it over. I like to dampen my projects when I'm about to press them. You want to turn these corners out. All I do is just take, you know, my scissors, or I actually have a pointed stick specifically for this. The pointed stick that helps me turn my corners out. But I get those corners turned as sharp as possible. That's going to give you a nice finished product at the end. I use vinyl here, so I'm trying not to go over that with the iron. Here's our opening. I'm going to tuck those in and press that so I have a nice clean fold for when we go to close it. And that needs just a little bit more water here. You can close these a number of ways. You can hand sew it. You can, I like to use liquid stitch. That's always a nice, easy one. And I'll show you how to do that. That's how we're going to close it today. Alright, now off to the stuffing. We're going to go grab some polyfill and finish this little gal up. And I like to work the stuffing into the corners first and then into the center. That gives you, you know, helps you fill out those corners. And I really don't stuff my pillows to where they're like super duper tight. I like them to be semi-flat. And I'll roll it out, and I think that's pretty good, don't you? And now all I'm going to do is take my liquid stitch here, and I'm going to grab a couple binder clips, and I'm going to seal this opening close. This is permanent fabric adhesive. You just put a little line down. And then close it up. I put my binder clips down. You really only need to leave the binder clips there for, I don't know, like 10-15 minutes, and then it'll be dry enough for you to remove those. You don't want to leave them on there for too long because you'll have an indentation, I've learned. So we're going to let that dry. And then another trick that I like to share is for your ribbon. All we're going to do is just lightly burn those. Very carefully. That just melts the end and keeps it from fraying. We know how rough these kids can get, right? There we go. I often get asked how I tie my bow so pretty, and what I should share is it takes me a while. A lot of trial and error and just playing with it. A couple tricks that I've learned, or at least one trick I've learned, is to flip it to the back side. I don't know why, but I always seem to get a prettier bow that way. And then I just tie it as normally, like I would a normal bow. I do try and keep the ribbon as flat and straight as possible. This is 1.5 inch ribbon too. I get asked that question sometimes. I prefer like the big bow look. But you can use whatever ribbon you have on hand or no ribbon at all. Right? And then I just work with it and get it to where I like it. And voila! There you go.